Okay, so get this. Just picturing yourself at the gym, like really visualizing those reps,
Hmm.
can actually lead to a 13% increase in muscle mass.
Wow.
It's wild.
Yeah.
We're talking real measurable results just from thought alone.
Yeah, it really speaks to how much we tend to underestimate what our minds are capable of. This isn't just like positive thinking.
Hmm.
It's about the tangible impact our thoughts can have on our physical selves.
Yeah, it's like our brains haven't quite figured out the difference between a daydream and actually like bench pressing a small car.
Right.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into the world of Dr. Tara Swart,
Yes.
neuroscientist, medical doctor, author, really gets how our brains tick.
Dr. Swart brings this incredible blend of scientific knowledge and practical advice. And what makes her work so fascinating is that she doesn't just explain the what of the brain, but also the how.
Right.
How we can actually use this knowledge to live better lives.
Exactly. So let's jump right into one of her most intriguing concepts, stress contagion. Have you ever walked out of a meeting feeling totally zapped, even if you went in feeling fine?
Oh, we've all been there.
Right.
Dr. Swart explains that this feeling isn't just in our heads. The stress hormone cortisol can actually transfer from person to person, almost like catching a cold, but for stress.
So it's like secondhand smoke, but for stress.
Exactly.
That's both fascinating and a little terrifying.
Exactly. And think about it this way. You know how women living in close proximity can experience their menstrual cycles syncing up?
Right, right.
That's not just an old wives' tale. It's a real phenomenon driven by hormones and pheromones. Now imagine that same principle, but with stress hormones in a workplace setting.
Okay, yeah, that makes it way too easy to picture, especially if you've ever worked for someone who, shall we say, brought their stress to work with them every day.
Precisely. And Dr. Swart points out that this effect is even more pronounced with leaders.
Oh, interesting.
It's like their stress becomes this unseen force that can impact the well-being of their entire team. She even calls it leaky cortisol.
So what are we supposed to do? Wear, like, metaphorical hazmat suits to work?
Well, it's not quite that drastic. Dr. Swart suggests a few things, like practicing mindfulness, which can help us stay grounded in the present moment, and setting boundaries, especially when it comes to work-life balance.
Those are good strategies in general, yeah. Any other quick tips? I'm all about actionable advice.
Absolutely. Even something as simple as stepping outside for fresh air or taking a few deep breaths can help minimize the impact of someone else's stress.
Fresh air and deep breaths.
Got it.
Now, Dr. Swart also talks about a surprising link between stress and something many of us grapple with, that stubborn belly fat.
Right. She explains that high levels of cortisol can actually make it harder to lose weight, especially in the abdominal area. It's like our bodies go into survival mode and hold on to that fat, even if we're eating well and exercising.
Okay, so stress isn't just bad for our mental health, it's sabotaging our fitness goals too.
Yeah.
Not cool cortisol, not cool. But this does make sense, that amazing feeling after a good workout.
Yeah.
Dr. Swartz says that's partly because exercise, especially aerobic exercise, helps us flush out that excess cortisol.
It's like hitting the reset button on our stress response system. And this brings us to another crucial aspect of brain health that Dr. Swart emphasizes, sleep.
Yes.
Not just any sleep, but deep restorative sleep.
I'm a huge advocate for a good night's sleep. In fact, I have a strict no meetings before 11 a.m. rule.
I love that.
But Dr. Swart takes it a step further, explaining the critical role of something called the glymphatic system.
Yes.
Now, is it glymphatic?
Lymphatic, yes.
Lymphatic.
Okay.
You can think of the glymphatic system as your brain's overnight cleaning crew.
Okay.
It's most active during deep sleep, and its job is to flush out all the toxins and metabolic byproducts that build up in your brain throughout the day. Okay, so it's like giving your brain a nice, refreshing power wash while you sleep.
Exactly.
Sounds essential.
It is. And this is why consistently getting 7-8 hours of quality sleep is crucial for maintaining optimal brain function. Without it, those toxins can accumulate, leading to brain fog, fatigue, and even long-term cognitive decline.
Yeah, that makes those late-night Netflix binges seem a lot less appealing.
Right.
Now, get ready for this next one.
Okay.
Dr. Swart says that co-sleeping can actually boost resilience. You heard that right. Cuddling all night long might make you mentally tougher.
It sounds surprising, but there's a fascinating scientific explanation for this. It all comes down to oxytocin, often referred to as the bonding hormone.
Okay.
Think about how you feel when you hug someone you care about, that sense of warmth and connection.
Right.
That's oxytocin at work.
Okay, so cuddling releases oxytocin. But how does that translate to resilience?
Well, studies have shown that oxytocin can actually improve our heart rate variability, or HRV.
Okay.
And HRV is a key indicator of how well we cope with stress. The higher our HRV, the more resilient we are.
So if co-sleeping boosts oxytocin and oxytocin improves HRV, then cuddling with a loved one at night is basically a recipe for resilience. Who knew?
It seems that way.
Right.
And it challenges that idea that we always need to be tough and independent.
Yeah,
Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is allow ourselves to be vulnerable and connect with others.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
Speaking of powerful things, Dr. Swart also talks about something a little more esoteric but equally fascinating: intuition.
Yeah.
You know that feeling you get when you just know something, even if you can't quite explain why?
Mm-hmm. We've all had those moments.
Right.
Dr. Swart explains that intuition isn't just some mystical force. It's actually a form of stored wisdom and experience,
Right.
often buried deep within our nervous system.
So it's like our subconscious mind is trying to tell us something based on all the information it's gathered over time, even stuff we don't consciously remember.
Exactly.
Wow.
And while we tend to think of the brain as the seat of intuition, Dr. Swart suggests that our gut also plays a role.
Okay.
Think of that gut feeling you get when something feels off.
Right.
That's your enteric nervous system, sometimes called your second brain, communicating with your brain.
Oh, okay. That totally explains why I always feel so calm and at peace when I'm surrounded by trees.
Interesting.
It's like my entire being just exhales.
Yeah.
Maybe my gut has learned that trees mean safety and fresh air.
That's a great example of how our past experiences, even those we might not consciously recall, can shape our intuition.
Right.
If you've consistently felt safe and at peace in nature, your nervous system has likely created a strong association between those feelings and the sensory input associated with being outdoors.
Fascinating. It makes you wonder what other ancient wisdom is out there just waiting to be rediscovered.
All right.
Dr. Swart actually touches on this, suggesting that ancient cultures may have understood things like neurodiversity and non-traditional gender identities far better than we do today.
It's a humbling thought.
Yeah.
We tend to think of ourselves as so advanced, but perhaps we don't have all the answers.
Right.
Maybe we can learn a lot from cultures that value different ways of knowing and being.
Absolutely. It's like we're so busy trying to fit everyone into neat little boxes
Yeah.
that we've forgotten to appreciate the beauty of human diversity.
Yeah.
And speaking of breaking free from boxes, Dr. Swart debunks a common myth,
Yes.
the idea that our brains are hardwired.
Right. This is where the concept of neuroplasticity comes in.
Okay.
Our brains aren't set in stone. They're constantly changing and adapting throughout our lives.
So it's not like our brains are computers with fixed circuits. We're talking more like
Yeah.
Play-Doh,
Right.
moldable, adaptable, always evolving.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
Dr. Swart describes it as soft wiring, not hard wiring.
Right.
And the soft wiring happens through three main mechanisms: myelination, synaptic connections, and neurogenesis.
Okay, let's break those down.
Okay.
What's myelination all about?
Imagine the insulation on an electrical wire. It helps the signal travel faster and more efficiently.
Okay.
Myelination is kind of like that for our neurons.
Okay.
It's the process of forming a fatty sheath around the axons of our neurons, which helps them conduct signals more quickly and efficiently.
So the more myelination we have, the better our neurons can communicate, leading to faster thinking, quicker reflexes, that sort of thing.
Exactly. And guess what promotes myelination?
What's that?
You got it. Practice.
Okay.
The more we engage in a particular activity, whether it's playing an instrument, speaking a language, or even just thinking a certain way,
Right.
the more myelination occurs in the corresponding neural pathways, making those pathways faster and more efficient.
That explains why practice makes perfect,
Right.
or at least closer to it.
Exactly.
What about those synaptic connections?
So synaptic connections are the links between neurons, and they're constantly forming, strengthening, and even weakening based on our experiences.
Right.
Imagine exploring a new city.
Okay.
At first, all the streets seem unfamiliar, but as you walk those streets again and again,
Right,
you
right.
become more familiar with the route, creating a mental map of the city in your brain.
So the more we engage with new information or experiences, the more connections form between our neurons, making it easier for us to learn and adapt.
Exactly. Every time we learn something new, we're essentially creating new synaptic connections in our brains, expanding our mental map of the world.
Wow, this is amazing.
It is pretty amazing.
And the last one, neurogenesis. That sounds intense.
Neurogenesis is the process of actually growing new brain cells.
Wow.
And while it's most active during childhood, it doesn't stop completely as we age.
Okay, that's good news.
Yes.
So there's still hope for us.
Exactly.
Right.
Dr. Swart highlights how things like exercise, especially aerobic exercise, and a diet rich in dark-skinned fruits and vegetables can actually boost neurogenesis.
That's my cue to swap these potato chips for some blueberries.
Yeah.
But seriously, this whole concept of neuroplasticity is incredibly empowering.
It is.
If our brains can change, that means we can change.
Exactly.
Those negative thought patterns, those limiting beliefs, they don't have to define us.
Absolutely. Dr. Swart actually shares a personal anecdote in her interview about how she improved her own eyesight, even though her optician had told her she'd need reading glasses.
What?
She simply refused to accept that as her reality, and over time, her vision actually improved.
Wow. Talk about the power of positive thinking, or maybe we should call it positive seeing in this case.
Right.
But it begs the question, how do we actually do that? How do we tap into this incredible power of neuroplasticity to create lasting change in our lives?
Dr. Swart provides a clear three-step process.
Right.
First, you need to recognize the pattern.
Okay.
What is the unhelpful habit, the negative thought pattern, or the limiting belief you want to change?
Okay, I'll go first.
Okay.
Let's just say I have a tendency to, shall we say, misplace things?
Sure.
My organizational skills could use some work.
And there's no judgment here. We all have areas where we can improve.
Right.
The important thing is that you've identified the pattern.
Right.
The second step is to understand the consequences of that pattern.
Okay.
How is it impacting your life, your work, your relationships?
Well, my unique organizational style often leads to wasted time searching for things, unnecessary stress.
Yeah. And the occasional frantic scramble to find my keys.
Yeah.
Not ideal.
Exactly. And that brings us to the third step, deliberate practice.
Okay.
This is where you consciously choose a different behavior, a different thought pattern,
Right.
and practice it consistently, even when it feels awkward or difficult.
So instead of, labeling myself as disorganized, maybe I start saying, I'm working on streamlining my systems.
Right.
Or I'm embracing a more intuitive approach to organization.
Right.
Okay, that last one might need some work, but you get the idea.
Exactly. It's about consciously choosing a different thought pattern,
Right.
a different way of talking about yourself and your habits.
Yes.
And the more you practice this new way of thinking and speaking, the more your brain starts to rewire itself accordingly.
It's like we're literally retraining our brains. Yeah.
One thought, one word at a time.
Mm-hmm.
This is fascinating.
It is.
Dr. Swart also talks about the importance of accountability.
Yes.
Having a support system, whether it's a friend, a coach, or even just a visual reminder,
Right.
can make a big difference
Absolutely.
to kind of help you stay on track.
It's like having a workout buddy for our brains.
Yeah.
We're more likely to stay motivated and on track when we have someone to cheer us on or hold us accountable.
Right.
Even something as simple as a vision board or a daily reminder on your phone can help reinforce those new neural pathways.
Visual cues are a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of powerful tools for change,
Yes.
Dr. Swart highlights the often overlooked impact of language.
Right.
The words we use, both internally and externally.
She talks about how even subtle shifts in language can create profound shifts in our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors.
Yes.
It's not just about thinking positive thoughts.
Right.
It's about using language that empowers us to take control of our experiences.
This really resonates with me.
Yeah.
I used to say things like, I need a coffee, or I need a break.
Right.
But I've been trying to reframe those statements as choices.
Yeah.
Instead of saying need, I'll say, I'm choosing to treat myself to a coffee.
Right.
Or, I'm choosing to take a break.
Yeah.
It's a small change,
Yeah.
but it feels much more empowering.
And that's the key.
Yeah.
When we tell ourselves we need something, it creates a sense of lack, a
Right.
sense of being controlled by external forces.
Yes.
But when we frame it as a choice,
Yeah.
we step into our power. We become active participants in shaping our experiences rather than passive recipients of them.
It's like we shift from a mindset of scarcity to a mindset of abundance.
Yes.
Just by changing the words we use.
Absolutely.
And speaking of abundance, Dr. Swart introduces a really simple yet powerful practice for rewiring our brains for more of what we want. Gratitude.
Yes, it sounds almost too good to be true, but Dr. Swart suggests that spending just 5 minutes each day visualizing our goal as if they've already been achieved and feeling genuine gratitude for that reality can actually help make those goals a reality.
Wow. So it's not just about making a wish and hoping for the best.
Right.
It's about creating that feeling of gratitude in our bodies now,
Yes.
as if the goal has already manifested.
Exactly. It's about shifting our energy from a place of longing or striving to a place of appreciation and gratitude, which then sends a powerful message to our brains and to the universe that we're ready to receive what we're desiring.
It's like we're planting those seeds of desire, and gratitude is the water and sunshine that helps them grow.
I love that.
Wow, after this deep dive, I am feeling incredibly inspired.
Me too.
It's amazing how much power we have over our own brains, our own lives, just by understanding a few simple principles.
That's the beauty of neuroscience.
Yes.
It's not just about understanding this incredibly complex organ.
Right.
It's about understanding ourselves, our potential, and the incredible power we have to shape our own destinies.
So true.
Yeah.
Dr. Swart leaves us with a really, I think, powerful closing question that I think perfectly encapsulates this entire deep dive.
Okay.
What could you choose to change and choose to feel great about?
That's a good one.
What resonates with you from today's conversation? What small step can you take today to start rewiring your brain for more happiness, more success, more fulfillment?
Remember, change starts with awareness. Once we recognize the patterns that are no longer serving us,
Yeah.
we can consciously choose different thoughts, different behaviors, and ultimately different outcomes.
Your brain is your superpower.
It is.
Thanks for joining us for this incredible deep dive.
Thank you.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep unlocking that amazing potential within you.